The Battle of Manila, sometimes called the Mock Battle of Manila, was a short land engagement between the U.S. Army and its then-allied Philippine Revolutionary Army and Spanish forces at the end of the Spanish-American War. The battle occurred 4 months after the pivotal U.S. Navy victory during the Battle of Manila Bay, after which America controlled Manila Bay and therefore effectively controlled the fate of Manila. The battle was planned jointly by Spanish and American generals to keep the city from falling to the Philippine Revolutionary Army led by Emilio Aguinaldo. Because of this, it is sometimes referred to as the Mock Battle of Manila. The battle left American forces in control of Intramuros, the center of Manila, surrounded by Philippine Revolutionary forces, creating the conditions for the Battle of Manila of 1899 and the start of the Philippine-American War. Background: after the American victory in Manila Bay on May 1, 1898, the United States Navy, under Admiral George Dewey, blockaded the city of Manila and waited for land forces to arrive. The United States organized the 8th Army Corps, dubbed the Philippine Expeditionary Force, under the command of Major General Wesley Merritt. On May 16, the vanguard of the force left San Francisco under the command of Brigadier General Thomas M. Anderson. Merritt, on the same day, asked for information concerning the strength of the Spanish in the Philippines. The American consul in Hong Kong gave the information needed: 21,000 men including 4,000 Filipinos, all except 1,000 of them in Manila. Dewey, however, sent more accurate information: around 40,000 troops including around 16,000 Filipinos, about 15,000 were situated in Manila, and 9 artillery guns in Manila. By mid-June, some 30,000 Filipino revolutionaries under General Antonio Luna had dug 14 miles of trenches around Manila. Filipino revolutionaries, seizing control of Manila's only pumping station, cut off the water supply to the city. The first contingent of American troops arrived in Cavite on June 30, the second under General Francis V. Greene on the 17th of July, and the third under General Arthur MacArthur on the 30th of July. By this time, some 12,000 U.S. troops had landed in the Philippines. Aguinaldo had presented surrender terms to Spanish Governor-General of the Philippines Basilio Augustin, who refused them. Augustin had thought that if he really needed to surrender the city, he would do so to the Americans. On the 16th of June, warships departed Spain to lift the siege, but they altered course for Cuba where a Spanish fleet was imperiled by the U.S. Navy. Life in Intramuros, where the normal population of about 10,000 had swelled to about 70,000, had become unbearable. Realizing that it was only a matter of time before the city fell, and fearing vengeance and looting if the city fell to Filipino revolutionaries, Governor Augustin suggested to Dewey that the city be surrendered to the Americans after a short, mock battle. Dewey had initially rejected the suggestion because he lacked the troops to block Filipino revolutionary forces. But when Merritt's troops became available he sent a message to Furman Jordines, Augustin's replacement, agreeing to the mock battle. Spain had learned of Augustin's intentions to surrender Manila to the Americans, which had been the reason he had been replaced by Jordines. Merritt was eager to seize the city, but Dewey stalled while trying to work out a bloodless solution with Jordines. On the 4th of August, Dewey and Merritt gave Jordines 48 hours to surrender, later extending the deadline by 5 days when it expired. Covert negotiations continued, with the details of the mock battle being arranged on the 10th of August. The plan agreed to was that Dewey would begin a bombardment at 900 on the 13th of August, shelling only Fort San Antonio Abad, a decrepit structure on the southern outskirts of Manila, and the impregnable walls of Intramuros. Simultaneously, Spanish forces would withdraw, Filipino revolutionaries would be checked, and U.S. forces would advance. Once a sufficient show of battle had been made, Dewey would hoist the signal DWHB, whereupon the Spanish would hoist a white flag and Manila would formally surrender to U.S. forces. Battle on August 13, 1898, with American commanders unaware that a peace protocol had been signed between Spain and the U.S. The previous day, Dewey began his bombardment as scheduled. Dewey directed his ship captains to spare Manila any serious damage, but gunners on one ship, unaware of the negotiated arrangements, scored several direct hits before its captain was able to cease firing and withdraw from the line. General Greene's brigade pushed rapidly through Malate, Manila and over the bridges to occupy Binondo and San Miguel, Manila. The advancing Americans made good use of new weapons, such as the M1897 trench gun, which was ideal for close combat. General Arthur MacArthur, Jr., advancing simultaneously on the Paz A Road, encountered and overcame resistance at the blockhouses, trenches, and woods to his front, advanced and held the bridges and the town of Malate. This placed Manila in American possession, except for Intramuros. Shortly after entering Malate, U.S. troops observed a white flag displayed on the walls of Intramuros. Lieutenant Colonel C. A. Whittier, United States Volunteers, representing General Merritt, and Lieutenant Brumby, U.S. Navy, representing Admiral Dewey, were sent ashore to communicate with the Captain General. General Merritt soon personally followed, met with Governor-General Jordines, and concluded a preliminary agreement of the terms of capitulation. Though a bloodless mock battle had been planned, Spanish troops had opened fire in a skirmish which left 6 Americans and 49 Spaniards dead when Filipino revolutionaries, thinking that the attack was genuine, joined advancing U.S. troops. Except for the unplanned casualties, the battle had gone according to plan. The Spanish had surrendered the city to the Americans, and it had not fallen to the Filipino revolutionaries. Aftermath. For all practical purposes, the fall of Manila brought about the end of the Spanish-American War in the Philippines. Merritt and Dewey finally received word of the peace protocol on August 16. Captain Henry Glass of the armored cruiser US Charleston had accepted the surrender of Guam on June 20, 1898, while en route to Manila, and Captain E.D. Taussig of the gunboat US Bennington claimed Wake Island for the U.S. On January 17, 1899, the war with Spain came to an end, but in February 1899 the Philippine-American War broke out. Tensions between the Filipino forces under Aguinaldo and the American Expeditionary Forces was high. The Filipinos felt betrayed by the Americans. They had looked on the Americans as aiding liberators against Spanish occupation. On February 4, 1899, a U.S. Army private fired the first shot at a Filipino revolutionary soldier and Filipino revolutionary forces returned fire. Thus began a Battle of Manila of 1899. Aguinaldo sent a ranking member of his staff to Well Stephen Otis, the U.S. military commander, with the message that the firing had been against his orders.